Once upon a time, a little girl went to school. When the little girl had been in school a while, the teacher said,
"Today, we're going to make a picture."
Good. I like to make pictures.
Though the little girl thought she could make all kinds of pictures, lions and tigers and chickens and cows, smiley faces and boats, and went to her easel and began to draw. You're drawing. But the teacher said,
"Wait, it's not time to begin. Now we are going to make flowers."
Oh, good. I love to make flowers.
thought the little girl, and she began to make a beautiful flower with her pink and purple and blue crayons. But the teacher said,
"Wait, I will show you how. This is how you do it. You draw the flower and the stem. There, now you can begin."
The little girl looked at the teacher's flower, which was red with a green stem. Then she looked at her own flower. She liked her flower much better than the teacher's, but she did not say this. She just made a flower like the teacher's. As she draws away, it was red with a green stem. On another day, when the little girl had opened the door from outside all by herself, the teacher said,
"Oh, today we're going to make something with clay."
Good. I like clay.
thought the little girl. She could make all kinds of things with clay. Snakes and snowmen, elephants and mice, cars and trucks. And then she began to pull and pinch on her ball of clay. But the teacher said,
Wait, it's not time to begin. Now we're going to make a dish."
the little girl liked to make dishes, and she began to make a dish that was most unusual and interesting, the shape of it. But the teacher said,
"Wait, I will show you how to do it."
and she showed her how to make a deep dish.
Now you may begin.
The little girl looked at the teacher's dish, and then she looked at her own. She did like her dish better than the teacher's, but she did not say this. She just rolled the clay into a big ball again and made a dish just like the teacher's. It was a deep dish, and pretty soon the little girl learned to wait and to watch and to make things just like the teacher. And pretty soon, she didn't make things the way she wanted to make them. And then one day her family moved to another house in another school. And the very first day she was there, the new teacher said,
Today we're going to make a picture."
Good.
thought the little girl. And she waited for the teacher to tell her what to do. But the teacher didn't say anything. She just walked around the room, and when she came to the little girl, she said,
"Don't you want to make a picture?"
Oh yes, what are we going to make?
"Well, I don't know until you make it."
How shall I make it?
"Well, any way you like."
And any color?
Any color. Just think, if everyone made the same picture and used the same colors, how would I know who made what and which was which?
I don't know.
Said the little girl. Pause while she draws the flower. And she began to make a red flower with a green stem. Did anyone ever have growing up an experience similar to this? Perhaps it wasn't a teacher, perhaps it was a parent, a relative, or it could be anyone. And in those situations, were you really free to be you? Were you?
No.
No. But I remember these words from Dr. Ernest Holmes from last week, which we are basing this series of freedom on, and today's is Free to Be Me. Freedom is a birthright of every living soul. Our inherent nature is forever seeking to express itself in terms of freedom. We do well to listen to that inner voice, for it tells us of a life wonderful in its scope and of a love beyond our fondest dreams. Freedom to be who we uniquely came here to be is the birthright of every living soul. Most of us were not taught that way. We put on these blinders and had this tunnel vision because that's the way it's done. And if you were like me as a little girl or a little boy, didn't quite fit in real well with those adults. You know, it really was, it was a challenge at times. But the freedom is there to be who we are, okay? Freedom to be uniquely who you came here to be. So if you would say this after me. Freedom to be who I uniquely.
Freedom to be who I uniquely
Came here to be.
came here to be.
It's my divine birthright.
It's my divine birthright.
And that is the truth. That is the truth. Our question this morning is, are you expressing your divine birthright, or are you drawing red flowers with green stems? It is my intention that this morning we look at having to be the freedom of who we really are and how we can truly express it. We are unique expressions of the one life, each and every one of us. And so today is a day filled with inspirations and illustrations. We just began with one in which we saw how we can be squelched so easily as young children. We will end with an incredibly beautiful, touching one showing what happens when we are really allowed to be nurtured and supported. And in the middle, which is now, we will have that one that will help us think anew, hopefully. So how many of you have been to Italy and maybe you've seen the magnificent work of art entitled David by Michelangelo? Oh wow, look at all you people. I've seen this. Worldly group. Okay. Do you know the story of exactly how David came into being? Maybe you don't. You're going to hear it anyway, even if you didn't. So in the mid-1400s, in Italy, sculptors were commissioned to create a series of 12 large Old Testament figures for the Cathedral of the Basilica di Santa Maria del Fiore in Florence. 2 of the statues were completed, and in 1464, the artist Agostino di Duccio was commissioned to sculpt David. A giant block of marble was mined and brought all the way from Tuscany, northern Tuscany, in one piece, through great effort and much expense. Although Deduccio spent 2 years on the project, he didn't get very far. He had only began shaping the feet and the legs, and his association with the project ceased. In the words of Wikipedia, he probably was fired. And a year later, in 1467, another artist, Antonio Rossellino, was commissioned to take up where Deduccio left off. However, Rossellino did not get very far either, and he too was fired. And the project was abandoned. It wasn't abandoned for just a few months. It was abandoned for 25 years. So for 25 years, this gigantic block of marble sat in the churchyard, rotting, basically, just wearing away. Not rotting, but wearing away. But in 1501, the authorities were determined to find an artist who could take this large piece of marble, which they called the giant, and turn it into a finished work of art. They ordered it to be raised on its feet so that a master sculptor could look at this and maybe examine it and express an opinion about it. Although Leonardo da Vinci and others were consulted, it was a 26-year-old artist by the name of Michelangelo who convinced the church to give him the commission. And on August 16, 1501, Michelangelo was given the official contract and began carving the statue. 1 month later, he began his work. He worked on this massive biblical hero for 3 years, but completed it in 1504. Although Michelangelo was considered an artistic genius with many capabilities, he considered sculpting to be the highest form of art for him. He felt that he was mimicking the divine creative genius, the artist of all life, the divine creation. He worked under the premise that David was already in that block of marble, just waiting to be revealed. His job was simply to chisel away that which was not David. And did you hear the deep? There's quite a few deep and profound spiritual messages in that story, because there are several. First and major was the obvious one. David was already present in that block of marble, waiting to be revealed. Michelangelo viewed his job as simply removing that which was not David. Meister Eckhart, 12th century poet and mystic, wisely pointed out, the spiritual life is not a process of addition, rather of subtraction. Unique, wonderful, glorious, creative, gifted, talented, free you is unique. It is within each and every one of us, waiting to be revealed. And you don't need to find it, to get it, to take more courses or whatever it is. That's to be spiritually uplifted, so take those classes that we spoke about, of course. But that true beauty is already within each and every one of us. The only thing that stands between you and it are the accumulated thoughts, beliefs, and emotions that have not been put there by yourself. They have been put there by yourself or the human race. That which has been put there can be removed. Can be removed. The Spanish cellist, Pablo Casals, once pointedly inquired how we see ourselves and our children. This is beautiful. He said this: when will we teach our children what they are? We should say to each of them, do you know what you are? You are a marvel. You are unique. In all the world, there is no other child exactly like you. Millions of years have passed, and there has never been another child like you. And look at your body. What a wonder it is. Your legs, your arms, your cunning fingers, the way you move. You may become a Shakespeare, a Michelangelo, a Beethoven. You have the capacity for anything. Yes, you are a marvel. Okay, so you might not have heard quite those words when you were growing up, but you're going to hear them now.
Not exactly.
So let me say it to you. So let's just take a really nice deep breath. As I tell you, as Pablo Casals spoke of it, I'm going to tell that to each and every one here. Do you know what you are? You are a marvel. You are unique. In all the world, there has never been anyone exactly like you. In the millions of years that have passed, there has never been another you. And look at your body. What a wonder it is, yeah? Your legs, your arms, your cunning fingers, the way you move. You have the capacity for anything. You are a marvel. So beautiful. We need always to be reminded that that beauty of God, that young little child that was full of wonder and awe at everything, and just couldn't wait to get out there and try everything, is still there within us. No matter how many people or situations have tried to cover it up, it is still present within each and every one of us. In Matthew 5, verse 48, you therefore must be perfect as the Heavenly Father is perfect. Today, it's time to chip away that which stands in the way of you expressing your unique, wonderful, perfect self. The second lesson in this David story, it took Michelangelo to see David within the stone. Before Michelangelo, two other artists worked with this giant piece of marble. And several others, including Leonardo da Vinci, were asked to be involved. But none of them could see David in the stone the way Michelangelo did. There were many in your past who simply couldn't see the unique you. As we've just realized, just because they couldn't see it doesn't mean it wasn't there all along. And now it's time to find your own Michelangelos, or even of greater importance, for you to become your own creator, allowing that which is within you to express freely. And maybe you've had a Michelangelo in your life, a mentor, someone that guided you. And the important thing to remember is that you can be a Michelangelo for others. You can begin that way. One of the greatest ways to call out your greatness is to help someone call out theirs. And how about if we choose this morning to be someone else's Michelangelo, to see the greatness in them, to see the gifts that exist within them that maybe they're not even aware of anymore because it's so covered up. And the third lesson is how long it took for David to be revealed. As I sat with this creation of David, I became curious to figure out exactly how long it took from the original commissioning date, which was in 1464, to its completion in 1504. It took 40 years. 40 years for David to be revealed from that block of stone. And there his many of us know, there is a great spiritual significance in the number 40. 40 symbolizes all the time for spiritual awakening and transformation to take place. Noah and company spent 40 days out on the sea, on the ark. Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree for 40 days. Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness being tempted. Moses and the Israelites spent 40 years in the wilderness. I spent 40 years in a marriage. It was complete. I really knew that. It was 40, so it was complete. Free to leave, free to be me. Yes, all the time it takes. That is it. All the time it takes for transformation to take place. However long it takes, but you can begin right here and right now. It's okay to begin. There's no other time to begin anyway. If you have already, just allowing that uniqueness within you, the gifts that you have that you never thought that you had, you never believed in it, let them flow free. Who cares what other people think anymore? Truly, who cares? You are working on you in peace and in love. So the spiritual lessons today were, the glorious you already exists. The second one is, surround yourself with those who see it. Begin to see it for yourself and for others. And remember, it takes time, and that's okay. It takes as long as it takes. But my friends, I encourage all of us to begin today to really get in touch with what we feel inside of us, even just a little inkling, just to move into that and then let it expand, because it will. It's a God-given gift and birthright. And so it is.